Hey guys, welcome back. We're putting another one on the bench today. Like I said in some of my past videos for this month, I'm going to be trying to do quick projects, but knowing how things go for me, we'll see how it turns out. Welcome back. I am working on the Spectrum Strat. I'll include the playlist to, there's only one other video for this, which was the My Guitars video. And I'm going to switch to the overhead and just kind of walk you through what was done before I started doing videos. All right, so we are looking at my Spectrum Black Strat, and the only things remaining on this that are original are the neck, the body, the pick guard, and the boat for the jack. Everything else had been replaced mainly because I wanted to. And you can see I've got a few implements of destruction out here, which I will be putting away as we go through what I want to do with this. When I left this off, the action was a little high, and I wasn't able to work on it too much because number one, I didn't know what I was doing with cutting a nut. Now that I've got a little more experience with that, I want to work on that. The other problem I have with this nut, you can't really see it on camera, but it's too tight in the slot and it keeps rocking back and forth. So one of two things is going on. Either I have a hump in the nut slot, but I thought I checked that it was perfectly flat. We'll check again. Or I need to sand a little bit off of this nut so it fits in there a little better, because I did some looking online and found out that if it's hitting the sides, like if it's bowed out in one part of it, it can cause it to rock back and forth. I need it to sit totally flat before I cut it. So while we had the strings off, I also did not have a good fret polishing system when I first did work on this guitar. So these frets could use a little love. I figured we'd take care of that, and then I'll clean off the fretboard even though it's not too dirty, because it hasn't been seeing much playing time since it hasn't been in a real playable condition. The things that were done to this, we did replace the pickups. I got Guitar Fetish overwound set, which is similar to a Tex-Mex set of pickups because I really wanted that kind of sound out of this. I replaced the box switch with a Fender 5-way switch, and I replaced the dime size pots, one of which was kind of odd anyways, with CTS pots, uh, volume, tone, and tone. And I replaced the bridge with a Geiger bridge, which has a better block. Not that it makes that much difference, but the bridge that was on there was awful. I put a pure tone output jack in, and I also put on roller string trees up at the top. Don't know if you guys can see that. I had the roller string trees added, and I put in Geiger locking tuners because the tuners that came with it, again, were not good. They were loose to the point of not being able to fix them at all. So everything has been done to this guitar that can be done short of fret leveling and everything, but we'll check everything again before I put the strings back up and try and do the nut, because what I want to do real quick is polish the frets. We'll make sure the neck is level, do a fret rocker, and just make sure if there's anything way out of whack. If there's little ones, I'm not going to bother with it because I still haven't done a fret level. I am going to be getting myself a neck to practice that kind of things on, fret level and crowning. So that'll be down the road if need be. But if I remember correctly, there wasn't anything majorly wrong with these frets. So first things first, let's get the lizard spit out and just polish these guys up a little bit. So I've got that, got my cloth specifically set aside for this, and we have our fret guard. I'm not going to bother taping up this neck, just again, because actually I don't have that much blue tape. That's something I need to invest in. But I've got the fret guards here, so we'll start with those. I'm going to get one of the pads out because that should do for the neck. There we are. I've got the green ones. We'll see what the next refill brings. And I'll just get a couple of these done so you can see the difference, and then I will speed through the rest. So I just, like I said, with my son being home this month with us, I didn't want to spend too much time, but I did want to keep putting videos out. I just don't have the time to get ahead like a lot of you guys do. So generally, I'm doing these 1 or 2 days before they post. And that's how it's going to be for a while. Eventually, I will find a way to parcel out my videos so that I can be ahead of the curve on getting videos out to you guys. All right, so we've got these first 3 done, switching sides here, and we'll take my towel here and just wipe these off. And I'm going to use, this is a lacquered fretboard, so I don't want to use any lemon oil or anything like that on it. A glossy fretboard, so I'm probably just going to get a little sprayway on a clean paper towel and wipe that down after we're done polishing the frets. Then at that point, we're going to make sure it's dead level, and we will get the fret rocker out and just double check everything again. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see the difference there or not. Let me lift this up to you guys. But those first 3 frets, much shinier. They definitely feel better. So this will be step 1. So, all right. I will meet you guys after the 22nd fret, or 21st. All right, so we have a few things out of the way. The fret polishing is done. I wiped it down as best I could. Now we are going to take a little bit of the spray away because, like I said, with this shiny surface, I don't think lemon oil is going to do any good. It's not like a rosewood board or ebony or something where it's going to soak in. This just needs to be cleaned off a little bit, especially since I had the fret polish on there. So let me do that quick. And again, this is Sprayway ammonia-free glass cleaner. Thank you to Chris over at BCG 5150 for introducing this to me. And I'm just going to use just a little bit on the towel because it's not really dirty. I just want to make sure that I don't have any of that polish residue left on the fingerboard. And that is one thing I do like about this guitar, and I'm hoping that you guys can see this online, is just the flame in the fretboard itself is just really unique, I think. Not flame so much as swirls, or it's almost a burl or marbling, but it's very unique looking maple neck. And for a budget guitar, I've always thought that this neck was pretty darn good. We've got that wiped down. Set this off to the side. By the time we're done, I'm going to take a little spray away on the body too, but we've got a few other things to do here. So I'm going to got a long scale that out, get it centered. So far, sitting down looks exactly where I want it to be. We're just going to tilt this up into the playing position, which reminds me to thank John over at Smoke Eaters for sending those plans for that rest that he made for himself. I know that Ted's got one too. Aaron, he sent him over to AO's area of operations. I'll link his channel as well too, because he's just starting in on this stuff like me, learning, and I am seeing a flat neck, which is good. That means I can check for rockers. But Aaron got the plans and very politely asked John if he minded if he sent the plans over to me as well. So at such a time as I can get myself to a wood shop, aka my brother's or one of my friends, I am going to build myself one of those rests as well, so that I can comfortably have things in the playing position on the table to do that sort of thing, as well as, you know, check intonation and action, etc. Most of what I'm going to be doing in the flat position for you guys today, just because it's easier, and I will recheck it in playing position. So we need to just double check how we're doing with all the frets. And this shouldn't take too long, and I will try and keep talking to you. If I don't, and you see any jump cuts, that's because I forgot to keep speaking. So far, so good. This is exactly as I remember it. Nothing's rocking at all, which I, again, found remarkable for such a budget guitar. I think when these were being sold through Kohl's department stores of all places around here. They were being sold for somewhere between 150 to 200, probably less, because if you are familiar with Kohl's, they run sales all the time, which means basically that they have an inflated price that they mark down to what they would actually sell it for. In any case, I got this off of Facebook Marketplace for 35 bucks, which was just a ridiculous find in my opinion, because yes, there are a few things inside that body, if I were to take it apart and show you, um, leave a little bit to be desired. I know that Ted had one of these Spectrum guitars through his hands as well, and some of the work under the pick guard is not the best, but all things being equal, now that I've got it hot rodded up with better parts, this is really not a bad guitar at all. So I'm going to do what I can with it. I had been at some point considering trying to give this to a band program around here, something else, just because I've got so many guitars and so many Strats. But at this point, I think I'm going to keep it because I didn't get any takers. I think some of them may have been put off by the fact that it's an off-brand guitar, or they just weren't looking for that type of instrument. They may not have had a guitar player in the jazz band, so they didn't want something else sitting around. I get it. And that's fine. So you know what? I'm going to enjoy the guitar while I can, until such a time I get to the point where I'm trying to thin my herd and find something to do with it. Or if we have friends and I find out that somebody has a youngster trying to get into playing guitars, this would probably be an excellent starter now that I've got it set up. So that might be what we do with it. The neck is good. The frets are good. There's a couple frets that could probably use a little bit of attention with a fret end file. That's going to be down the road, probably the next string change, because that's one of the next things on my ever-growing list of things that I need to get for tools, parts, etc. And until I win the lottery, I'm not getting them all at once. So, but the fret end file is a must, because I'm going to need it for the bass kit. That bass neck is pretty rough. Now we're going to move on to the nut. I am going to try and move some stuff out of the way and see if I can slide this down and get you guys a better view of what I'm working on. At least we're in there better now. All right. So like I said, this nut is not glued in. It is just in there really tight, and I'm beginning to suspect that that might be part of the issue. So what I'm going to do is take a little screwdriver, because I want to carefully, yeah, there, it popped right out. And first of all, I'm just going to borrow my fret rocker again to make sure that there is no curvature on the bottom of this nut, and there is no daylight coming through there. Next thing is I want to make sure that the nut slot is also dead flat. So it's not an issue with either having a radius nut or a radius nut slot. So that's flat. I think I am just going to take a small file and make sure that there's not any glue on the front or back side of this nut slot. And then I'm also going to just gently sand one side of this nut till it fits in there, not quite so tight. And that means I'll have to glue it in and string it back up, which means that we're going to be taking a break, because I'm going to let that glue set up for a little while before I start trying to file the nut. So we've got a straight file here, and I'm just being very gentle. I'm not trying to take any wood out of the nut slot. I don't want to change the radius, excuse me, the scale length by even a little bit, because that could mess with intonation. I don't know how much you would have to move stuff around to screw up intonation, but I have no plans to find out. And we'll take a little bit of sandpaper in there too and see if we can't iron that out. I am seeing a little bit of schmutz at the ends here, and I'm wondering if that's possibly what has been giving me a little bit of grief, or a combination of all three. All right, we have a clean nut slot, and I am going to do a little bit of sanding on this nut, because right now it is still, oh no, it slides right in there pretty easily. So maybe there was something in the nut slot. Let's see, take a look at it. That is down all the way. And we'll take a look at the other side where there was. I'm beginning to wonder now if we have a little bit of unevenness in that nut slot. I don't know how that could be, unless there's just the one end where it's a little low. Let me take one more look at that, let's take a short side of this and see. All right, I'm just going to do just a little bit of sanding on here to see if I can get it to lay down flat at that end. Take just a little bit off of this. That's another one of those things I need to get myself, is one of the tools that you can hold a nut in so that you're making sure you're keeping everything absolutely level as you're doing stuff like this, because that's one area where I know that I could potentially screw things up. All right, one more time. That is feeling more like it. It is moving, but not back and forth. So let's take a look as we hold it down. That's more like it. All right, so there was just a little schmutz at the one end of the nut slot. I am going to take a toothpick and dab a couple dabs of Titebond wood glue in there. I don't like to use CA for these because I like to think that eventually I'm going to want to get, there we are, or Gorilla wood glue. It's practically the same thing as Titebond, but I'm just going to get a little bit on a toothpick, just a couple drops in the slot because I want it to hold in place but not be perma-locked down there. If you guys know of any better way to do this than what I'm doing right here, let me know. I've only seen a couple other people put these in, and I've never really seen exactly. I've seen, like I've said, I've seen others use CA glue, and that just seems like a more permanent solution than what I would be looking for. All right, I'm gonna set that aside, wipe that off so we don't end up with glue sealed all over everything. And we're just gonna seat this nut and make sure it is perfect side to side. And we are going to tighten the strings back up to provide a little tension there. So we need to take these out of the way. And I will probably speed this up because watching me wind strings is not going to be the most exciting thing in the world for you. All right, after that speed up section, we are going to let this sit for a little bit so that I can make sure that the glue is in place because I don't want it rocking around and moving when I'm trying to cut the nut slots. We will come back. I will double check the relief one more time before we start putzing around with the nut slots. And I'll see you back here in just a little bit. It'll be a couple seconds for you and probably the better part of an hour for me because I want to make sure that's set up. All right, we'll see you guys in a minute. All right, guys, we're back at it. Everything is where it's supposed to be. The nut fits perfectly, which is good. So I am going to start one at a time with checking each nut slot using the Fret Guru XT, placing it in the nut slot, and then taking my string gauges to see where we're at. Now, if I remember, I'm going to leave all of these out because these are the numbers. Just as a guideline, Fret Guru XT's chart says that you want the low E somewhere between 0.008 and 0.005 inches. I'm going to try and split the difference and go 6 because I tend to try and have a little bit lower action. So we're going to put that in there again. I'm going to leave these off to the side. Off to the side, Chris. I wish there was a better way to do this, but keeping these all together in this tool makes it easy to look at. So I should be able, yeah, there's plenty of room under there. It's sliding in and out. I'm not even feeling the bottom of the gauge. the bottom of the fret guru. So we're going to take a little bit of meat out of that slot. Just going to go a little bit at a time, because although Ted recently posted a video about how to rebuild the nut slot, I would prefer not to. So just a little bit at a time. Got our .006 here again. That is just, you guys can't hear it, but it is just hitting the underside of that. So I think that's where I want to be. Let's put that back in there. Just barely a little bit of room. Like I said, I will recheck all this in plane position. Yeah, so far no buzzing. So let's tune this back up to E. Any adjustments you make, whether it's changing the nut slot height, changing your action height, changing intonation, you're going to have to retune the string again to make sure that you have your baseline correct. So, all right, 1 down, 5 to go. I'll do one more with you, and then I'll kind of speed through this unless I need to bring you guys back in. And yeah, we're going to split the difference because this one's .005 to .007 as well. Let's see where we are. Yep, that can have a little bit of meat coming off of there too. Again, just a little bit at a time. And I know it's doing its work because I can see bone dust coming out of the slot. Get our .006 back. You know what? Work any gunk out of there. Let's put our string back. Or no, not the string. The fret guru back. I could do this with the string by doing a capo too, but I've got a tool and I'm going to use it. Just barely hitting there. All right. I'm going to tune this back up to A and just take a couple. So far, so good, ladies and gents. So, all right, I'm going to do the other 4 strings on fast forward unless something happens along the way that I need to bring you in, and then we'll meet back on the other side, tune it, and we'll check intonation. All right, let me tune this up quick. And then we're going to start to check intonation. I'm going to try and keep the tuner in the screen for you at least. Grab one of the picks that John sent over. All right, so that was probably a little fast forward there too, or just a cut. Let's start with the low E and see where we are at with intonation. I'm going to grab my screwdriver so we can figure that out. That is pretty sharp. So we need to bring that saddle closer. I did it the wrong way, sorry. Still a little sharp. Let me make sure I'm not hitting that, fingering that too hard. The harmonic is perfect. So a little sharp. That could also mean that we have high action. I know I'm kind of doing this stuff out of order, but I'm trying to get a little bit realistically where I need to be. Yeah, that's going to be a little higher than I want it. I am also discovering that I need to buy myself some short saddle screws because I've had to lower this action quite a bit, and they're sticking out quite a bit. Still pretty sharp. So let me double check my math here real quick. Be right back, guys. All right, after that shortcut, once again, I had it wrong. Sorry, I keep hitting the mic with the guitar. All right. That was it. I'm going to do this in the playing position so you guys can see what I'm doing because it's also easier for me to see with the screws, and I'll recheck it in the playing position later. I did forget to mention that I did check the action, and after cutting the nut, the action is right where I like it, so that's where I'm leaving it while we're doing the intonation. And we can come back to the nut if necessary. All right, guys. Sorry, I'll cut that out. I was playing a couple of chords just to see how things sounded up and down the neck. Guys, I think we're set. The only thing I'm going to do here real quick is get a little sprayway on it and wipe my fingerprints off the body, which are going to come right back as soon as I play it again. But we'll see what we got. All right. Nice and clean, minus the few little war wounds it had. That's because it sat in somebody's closet for any number of years. Not to mention what I've done with it. All right. I am going to stop here, and I'm going to meet you over at my desk, and we're going to do a little playing on it so you guys can hear what it sounds like now that I've got everything dialed in. And then I'll give some final thoughts, and we'll call it a day. All right, guys, as promised, we're going to do just a couple of sound samples, and then I'm just going to play along to a backing track just to get used to this. I am so happy that this is working properly. Again, no fret buzz. The action seems correct, and the nut seems to be cut properly. So we're just going to do a couple clean tones here. Double check the tuning real quick, and then we'll throw a little bit of dirt at it because that's what I'm going to use for the backing track. Yeah, we want a little sharp. It's been a little warmer here than the past few weeks. We have just had so much happening with our weather. You can tell you live in Wisconsin when you've had to turn on the heat and the air in the same week. Let's go to a different sound here. This is probably going to be a little bit louder. Or a lot louder. Hold that thought. All right, give me a second here to find a backing track. All right, I am ecstatic that this is working again. So that just puts another weapon in my arsenal. I really like the sound of these pickups. Um, Let me put these aside here. It's hot and sweaty. Um, I'm also just ecstatic that I finally had a project go right from start to finish without anything majorly bad happening or coming across an unexpected problem like needing a shim or something else that I've come across. So uh, I hope that this was something fun for you guys to watch. I hope to have more content coming out in the next week. We'll see what happens. It's like I said, it's been a hectic month, but we're gonna have at least one a week for the rest of the month, and then we'll see what my year in review brings and what the next year of doing YouTube brings. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.